In Activity 6, Using Our Feet to Measure, students begin to explore measuring by using a non-standard unit, their own feet, to measure length. The students first solve an imaginary problem involving measuring and comparing lengths, and then discover how to record a measurement using a number and a unit label. From the kit, you will need Activity Sheet 6, a roll of masking tape. You will also need to provide a rug or mat about 60 centimeters by 90 centimeters in size. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 6 for each student. You will need a small rectangular rug, such as a bath mat or small area rug for students to measure. Before the activity, place the rug on the floor where all students can see it. In an open area of the classroom floor, use masking tape to mark lengths for students to measure. For each team of 4 students, place 2 15-centimeter pieces of tape at least 90 centimeters apart. The sets of tape lines should be spaced far enough apart so that teams can work without interfering with other nearby teams. To help students measure in a straight line from one piece of tape to the other, you may wish to lay an additional tape line showing the path they should follow. To begin the activity, introduce the word measure to the class. Ask students, what are some things that you think people can measure? Answers will vary. Students may mention size, length, distance, or height. Explain to the class that to measure an object is to find out its size, and that the measure of how long an object is, or how far it is from one end of the object to the other, is known as an object's length. Next, display the rug or mat you've laid on the floor and tell the class that you would like to move the rug to a different location in the classroom, but you do not know if the rug will fit. Explain that in order to find out if the rug will fit, the students must measure the rug. Let students know that while there are many units of measure, in this activity, they will use their feet as the unit of measure to discover how long the rug is. Demonstrate for the class how we can use our feet as a unit of measure. To measure the longer side of the rug, line up the back of your heel at one corner and step heel to toe in a straight line along the rug edge. Record the number of feet counted and label the unit as, for example, 3 teacher feet. Have one student measure the same length using the heel to toe method and record the number and unit, for example, 5 Brian feet. Point out the pairs of lines you have taped on the floor and ask students, do you think the rug will fit between the lines? Make sure to record the students' guesses. Group students into teams of 4 and tell the teams to measure the space between the lines using their feet. Count to the nearest whole foot. For example, if the final step goes over the line, do not count the step. Make sure each student has a turn being the stepper, while the other students will be counters. Have students predict whether they think their team members will use the same number of steps to cover the same length. Some students may think they have the same foot size as their team members, and others may not. Distribute a copy of Activity Sheet 6 to each student and instruct them to record the number of steps they used on their activity sheets. While students are filling out their activity sheets, step off the length of space between the pair of the masking tape lines and record your own measurement. When everyone has measured the length of the rug and the space on the floor, ask students, will the rug fit in the space I marked on the floor? The students should agree that yes, the rug will fit. Help students understand that using feet can give us a rough idea about length, but because different people, for example teachers and students, have different sized feet, using feet may not be a good way to measure. Conclude that because feet vary in size, they are an example of a non-standard unit of measure. Next, introduce distance as how far it is from one object to another, or from one place to another. Let volunteers share what they know about distances, such as the distance to a grandparent's house, or to a favorite store, or to the moon. Ask students, do you think we can use our feet to measure distance? The students should realize that if the distance is not too far, that yes, they can step off distance measurements in feet, but that at other times it may be too far to measure with their feet. To conclude the activity, peel and discard the masking tape on the floor. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science readers, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.